Your home has been on the market for 3 weeks. The photos look great, the house is clean, the price feels reasonable, and every time your phone rings, you're hoping it's the agent calling with an offer. And instead, it's the same update. No new showings, no feedback, no offers. That's usually the point where sellers start questioning everything. Maybe the price is wrong. Maybe the market is slowing down. Maybe we should have listed earlier. Maybe we need a different strategy. And before long, it's easy to start feeling frustrated. But before you make any big decisions, let's talk about what's actually happening. Because your home not selling is usually a symptom of something. And if we can identify the real problem, we can fix it. A few years ago, this conversation rarely happened. Homes were selling in days. Buyers were competing with each other. If a house wasn't perfect, buyers overlooked it because they were afraid of missing out. That's not the market we're in anymore. Today, buyers have choices. They're comparing homes. They're taking their time, and they're much less willing to compromise. That doesn't mean your home can't sell. It just means buyers are being more selective about which homes earn their attention. So let's look at the clues. The first thing I want to know is whether buyers are actually coming through the door, because that tells us a lot. If you're getting showings but no offers, your marketing is probably doing its job. People are finding the listings, they're interested enough to schedule a tour, they're walking through the house. But then they're leaving without writing an offer. And that's a very different problem than having no showings at all. When buyers tour a home and decide not to move forward, they're usually making a comparison. They're asking themselves, is this the best value I've seen at this price? And if the answer is no, they move on. Not because it's a bad house, not because anything is necessarily wrong, but because another home gave them more for the same amount of money. I tell sellers all the time that buyers don't evaluate your home in a vacuum. They're comparing it to every other home that they've seen that week. Every kitchen, every backyard, every primary suite, every price tag. And if enough buyers are looking but nobody is making an offer, pricing is often the first place we need to look. Sometimes that means a price adjustment. And when I say price adjustment, I don't mean just shaving off a couple $1,000s and hoping for the best. I mean repositioning the home so it shows up in front of a completely different group of buyers. Because if buyers don't see the value, they don't negotiate the way they used to. Most of the time, they simply move on. Now, let's talk about the opposite situation. What if nobody is scheduling showings? That's actually a different clue. If buyers aren't walking through the door at all, then they're making their decision before they even visit the house. And today, that decision happens online. Think about how buyers shop for homes. They're scrolling through dozens of listings, and in a matter of seconds, they're deciding whether to click or to keep scrolling. The photos have to stop them. The presentation has to grab them. The listing has to make them curious enough to see more. Because if buyers don't schedule a showing, they never get the chance to fall in love with the home. Sometimes the issue is pricing. The home may be sitting just outside the search range where buyers are looking. Other times, the photos aren't doing the property justice, or the home isn't showing as well online as it does in person. I've seen situations where updated photos, better staging, and a stronger presentation completely change the level of buyers' interest. Sometimes buyers don't need to have a different house. They just need a different first impression. And then there's the third option. Maybe you've already adjusted your price. Maybe you've improved the presentation. Maybe you've done everything you reasonably can do. At that point, a strategic reset can make sense. Sometimes taking the home off the market for a few weeks and relaunching it creates a fresh opportunity. When buyers see a listing that's been sitting for months, they start asking questions. What's wrong with it? Why hasn't it sold? Even when there's nothing wrong at all. A relaunch gives you a chance to reset that conversation. New photos, updated presentation, a refined price strategy, and a fresh start in front of buyers who may have overlooked it the first time. That's not giving up. It's repositioning. At the end of the day, homes don't sit because buyers are confused. They sit because buyers are making a decision. Our job is figuring out why they're making that decision and then adjusting the strategy accordingly. If your home has been sitting on the market and you're not sure what's causing it, I'd be happy to take a look. I'll review the listing, study the competition, look at the pricing, and give you an honest assessment of what's working, what's not, and what I would do next. Because every home can sell. The key is figuring out what the market is trying to tell us.